For years, the world barely paid attention to Serbia. A small Balkan country, landlocked and scarred by the wars of the 1990s, dismissed by many as a relic of a bygone conflict. But now, suddenly, everyone wants Serbia. Washington wants it in NATO's orbit. Brussels wants it fully aligned with the EU. Moscow wants it to hold the Balkan line against the West. And Beijing, well, Beijing wants it as the key to China's Belt and Road in Europe. The question is, why? How did a nation of 7 million people with no nuclear weapons and no global empire become the most sought-after ally and the most dangerous swing state in Europe's geopolitical game? This is Doctrine of War, and today we're diving into the story of the Balkan Pivot, how Serbia became the new center of gravity between East and West. But before we break down how Serbia pulled this off, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow, reach more viewers, and keep creating long-form analysis that goes beyond the headlines, the kind that shows how small nations shape big power. Alright, let's begin. A nation between empires, Serbia's strategic geography. To understand why everyone suddenly wants Serbia, you have to understand where Serbia is. Look at a map. Serbia sits at the heart of the Balkans, a crossroads between Central Europe, the Mediterranean, and the Middle East. Every empire that ever marched through this region, Rome, Byzantium, the Ottomans, the Austro-Hungarians, passed through Serbian soil. And today the same is true for energy pipelines, trade routes, and military influence. Serbia borders 8 countries, 5 of which are NATO members. It's landlocked, but it connects east to west through a network of roads, rivers, and railways that make it a logistical prize. To the north, it opens into Central Europe. To the south, it connects to the Aegean and the Mediterranean. To the east, it links directly to the Black Sea and the Eurasian sphere. Whoever influences Serbia, in a sense, influences the flow of power through the entire Balkans. And that's exactly why the world's biggest players have turned their eyes back to Belgrade. After 2 decades of relative calm, the Balkans are once again becoming strategically important, not because of war but because of competition. The European Union wants to stabilize the region to prevent another refugee or energy crisis. NATO wants to ensure that no foreign power, meaning Russia, can use the Balkans as a pressure point against Europe. Russia, in turn, wants to keep a foothold in a part of Europe where it still enjoys real loyalty and cultural influence. And China sees Serbia as its primary gateway into European logistics, a critical link in the Belt and Road Initiative's land corridor. In other words, Serbia isn't being courted because of what it can give, but because of what it can deny. It's a gatekeeper state, one that can block or enable influence across southeastern Europe. And Serbia knows it. That's what makes it so powerful right now, and so unpredictable. Belgrade's balancing act, how Serbia turned isolation into influence. For most of the 2000s, Serbia was in diplomatic exile. After the Yugoslav wars and NATO's 1999 bombing campaign, Belgrade was treated as a pariah, a problem to be managed, not a partner to be courted. But over the last decade, Serbia flipped that narrative. Under President Aleksandar Vučić, Serbia rebuilt itself economically, diplomatically, and militarily, all while walking a tightrope between the world's rival power blocs. Here's how. Serbia applied for EU membership in 2009. Since then, it's received billions in trade, investment, and development funds from Europe. Today, the EU is Serbia's largest economic partner by far, accounting for nearly 2/3 of its exports. And yet, Serbia has refused to join EU sanctions against Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. That one decision, neutrality, changed everything. It made Serbia the only European country maintaining open trade, travel, and communication with both Russia and the West. For Moscow, that makes Serbia a lifeline, one of the last friendly ports in a sea of sanctions. For the West, it makes Serbia a wild card, too strategically placed to be ignored, too independent to be controlled. Vučić has weaponized that ambiguity into leverage. He meets with EU leaders in Brussels one week, Russian envoys in Belgrade the next, and Chinese investors the week after that. Every handshake, every photo op, every pipeline negotiation, it's all part of Serbia's grand strategy, to remain everyone's partner but no one's pawn. That's how Serbia, a nation that was bombed by NATO just 25 years ago, now holds military cooperation drills with NATO through the Partnership for Peace program and participates in joint training with Russia and Belarus. That's how Belgrade hosts both EU investment conferences and Chinese construction summits, sometimes in the same building. Serbia has turned neutrality into currency. It trades friendship for funding, partnership for protection, and influence for independence. And the results are undeniable. In 2024, Serbia's GDP growth outpaced most of Europe's. Its armed forces are among the best equipped in the Balkans, and its global profile, once tarnished, is now that of a diplomatic power broker. When Western diplomats want to talk to Republika Srpska, the Serbian entity inside Bosnia, they go through Belgrade. When Russia wants to maintain Balkan influence, it does so through Serbia. When China needs to advance its Belt and Road investments into the EU market, it starts with Serbia. No other country in Europe plays all three sides with such precision. And that's why Serbia's position, and Vučić's balancing act, have become so important. Because right now, the future of the Balkans depends not on NATO, not on Brussels, and not on Moscow, but on which way Belgrade decides to lean. The return of the Balkans. Why the world is watching Serbia again. There's a saying in European geopolitics: the Balkans start fires when empires grow tired. And history has proven it true, from the Ottoman collapse to the assassination in Sarajevo that ignited World War I. Today the world is tired again. The global order is fracturing, new alliances are forming, and power is shifting from unipolar dominance to multipolar competition. And once again, the Balkans are back in play. But this time the spark isn't conflict, it's opportunity. The US and EU want to anchor the Balkans firmly in the Western sphere before Russia or China can fill the vacuum. Moscow wants to maintain influence through culture, energy, and shared Slavic identity. Beijing wants to build the infrastructure that will carry its trade from Piraeus to Central Europe, through Serbia. That's why everyone suddenly wants Serbia on their side. Because Serbia is not just another Balkan country, it's the hinge, the pivot point. If Belgrade tilts west, the Balkans follow. If it leans east, the door to Europe's underbelly swings open. But there's a deeper reason too, one that goes beyond maps and pipelines. Serbia has something few small nations have: credibility. It survived isolation. It resisted pressure. And it rebuilt without surrendering its autonomy. In an age where small states are expected to pick sides, Serbia's refusal to do so has made it a model of pragmatic independence, admired by some, feared by others, and courted by all. That's why French President Emmanuel Macron calls Serbia a key partner for stability. That's why Russia's foreign minister calls it a true friend of Moscow. And that's why China refers to it as a bridge between East and West. Each side sees what it wants to see, but Serbia sees them all for what they are: tools of leverage. And the real genius of Belgrade's diplomacy is this: it plays everyone's game while writing its own rules. Playing three empires, how Serbia balances the West, Russia, and China. If Serbia were a chessboard, every major power would already have a piece on it. But what's remarkable is this: Serbia still moves first. At the heart of Belgrade's strategy lies a principle inherited from centuries of survival in the Balkans: never belong entirely to anyone. Because in this region, alliances shift like the wind, and only those who adapt endure. Let's start with the West. Serbia's relationship with the European Union is one of dependence wrapped in defiance. The EU is Serbia's main trading partner, its largest investor, and its most important export market. Over 60% of Serbian exports go to EU countries, and billions in development funds have flowed into Serbian infrastructure, education, and energy projects. And yet, Serbia refuses to fully commit. When Brussels pressured Belgrade to align with EU sanctions against Russia after the Ukraine invasion, Serbia said no. President Aleksandar Vučić called it a matter of principle. We will not turn our backs on those who stood by us. He was referring, of course, to Moscow, which vetoed UN resolutions against Serbia during the Kosovo War and continues to back Belgrade's claim that Kosovo remains part of its sovereign territory. That single issue, Kosovo, is the anchor of Serbia's entire foreign policy. The West demands recognition. Russia promises support. China offers silence and investment. So Serbia plays all three. It negotiates with Brussels to keep EU funding and the promise of eventual membership alive. It maintains energy ties with Moscow, importing nearly all its gas from Russia at favorable prices. And it invites Chinese companies to build highways, railways, and factories, all without political conditions. This is what analysts call multi-vector diplomacy. But in Serbia's case, it's more than that, it's an art form. While NATO countries cut ties with Russia, Serbia expanded trade with both Moscow and Beijing. While Europe struggled with energy prices, Serbia quietly signed new gas deals with Gazprom. And while Western investors hesitated, China poured billions into Serbian infrastructure, from the Belgrade-Budapest railway to massive steel and mining projects in Bor and Smederevo. To outsiders, this looks contradictory. To Serbia, it's balance. Because Belgrade understands something most small nations forget. When you're surrounded by giants, your survival depends not on choosing sides, but on staying valuable to all of them. And Serbia has made itself invaluable. To the west, it's a bridge to the rest of the Balkans. To Russia, it's a cultural and religious ally in a region otherwise dominated by NATO. To China, it's a gateway into Europe's markets and infrastructure. 3 powers, 3 relationships, 1 strategy, leverage through loyalty, but only up to a point. The silent arsenal, Serbia's military revival and strategic independence. Serbia's balancing act isn't just diplomatic, it's military. Because neutrality in the modern age only works if you can back it up with strength. Over the past decade, Serbia has quietly rebuilt one of the most capable militaries in the Balkans. And it's done so in a uniquely hybrid way, blending Western training, Russian hardware, and Chinese technology. Let's break that down. On the Russian side, Serbia maintains deep military cooperation. It operates MiG-29 fighter jets, Pantsir-S-1 air defense systems, and T-72 tanks, all supplied or refurbished by Moscow. Joint exercises like Slavic Shield showcase their ongoing partnership, even as Serbia insists it remains non-aligned. But at the same time, Serbia conducts drills with NATO's Partnership for Peace program, sending officers to NATO academies and hosting Western advisors in Belgrade. It's a paradox, one that Serbia uses to remind both sides that it's open for cooperation, but unwilling to commit. Then comes China, the new factor in Serbia's military equation. Beijing has supplied Serbia with Fk-3 surface-to-air missile systems and reportedly Ch-92A armed drones, making Serbia the first European country to deploy Chinese UAVs in its arsenal. And this matters, because it marks China's first major military footprint on European soil. That's not coincidence. It's Belgrade's strategy at work again: diversify suppliers, balance influence, and make yourself too interconnected to isolate. Domestically, the Serbian army has modernized under the 1500 project, an initiative to re-equip its forces with updated gear, vehicles, and digital command systems. It has reintroduced mandatory military service discussions, not as a relic of the past, but as part of a national resilience doctrine rooted in self-reliance. And the symbolism of that move isn't lost on anyone. For a country bombed by NATO in 1999, rebuilding a self-sufficient army is more than policy. It's pride. Serbia doesn't seek confrontation, but it prepares for it. It sees what's happening across Europe: Ukraine's war, Kosovo's tensions, NATO's eastward expansion, and it's determined not to be caught unprepared again. That's why Belgrade's doctrine is neither Western nor Eastern. It's Balkan, pragmatic, defensive, and self-preserving. Its goal is not domination but deterrence. To make Serbia too costly to threaten, and too useful to ignore. And that's what makes the modern Serbian military so strategically important. It's not large enough to fight a global war, but strong enough to influence regional stability, and force great powers to negotiate rather than dictate. Because in the Balkans, credibility doesn't come from numbers. It comes from resilience. The power of neutrality, Serbia's future, and the next phase of the Balkan game. In 2025, Serbia stands at the crossroads of its future. EU membership remains a distant but open path. Russian support continues, but at a growing diplomatic cost. And Chinese investments are reshaping its infrastructure and its independence. Each road offers opportunity. Each carries risk. If Serbia leans too far west, it risks alienating Russia and losing its historical protector in the Kosovo dispute. If it leans too far east, it risks EU sanctions and isolation from European markets. And if it leans too hard on China, it risks debt dependency and strategic overreach. So instead, Serbia continues to do what it does best: walk the middle line. This strategy, sometimes called strategic hedging, is not just about buying time. It's about buying influence. Because the longer Serbia stays neutral, the more every power will invest in keeping it friendly. That's why the EU keeps offering financial aid. That's why Russia keeps offering energy deals. And that's why China keeps building railways. Belgrade has mastered the oldest lesson of Balkan politics. When you can't be the strongest, be the most essential. But Serbia's real power lies in something deeper: its identity. It sees itself as the last true independent actor in a region that's otherwise divided between blocs. A survivor of empires, sanctions, and wars, determined never to be anyone's satellite again. And that gives it a kind of soft power few notice but everyone feels. In Bosnia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia, Ethnic Serbs look to Belgrade as a cultural center. In Russia, Serbia is seen as a loyal Slavic brother nation. In Europe, it's seen as a potential stabilizer, or spoiler, depending on which way it turns. That influence doesn't require armies or alliances. It requires patience, and Serbia has mastered patience. The world may see Serbia as small, but in the chessboard of the Balkans, it moves like a queen, unpredictable, multi-directional, and impossible to ignore. Because whoever wins Serbia, wins access to the heart of southeastern Europe. And that's why everyone suddenly wants Serbia on their side. The Balkan Pivot. In the end, Serbia's power doesn't lie in conquest or wealth. It lies in its position, geographical, political, and psychological. It stands at the intersection of East and West, Orthodox and Catholic, democracy and autocracy. And instead of choosing one, it's chosen to balance all, a dangerous but brilliant game that has kept it relevant while others faded. Its leaders know that the 21st century isn't defined by who controls territory, but by who controls options. And right now, Serbia controls more options than almost any small state in Europe. It trades with the EU. It drills with Russia. It builds with China. And it negotiates with all. That is the new Balkan power, not domination but diplomacy. Not through noise but through nuance. And as global tensions rise, Serbia's quiet balancing act may soon decide more than just its own fate. It may decide the future of Europe's frontier, and whether the Balkans once again become the spark that changes the world. Because in every century there's a pivot, a place where empires meet, clash, and recalibrate. And in this century that pivot is Serbia. This is Doctrine of War, where we analyze how nations survive, adapt, and outsmart empires. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Serbia's grand strategy, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join us next time as we explore how small nations shape the fate of great powers. Because in geopolitics, the most powerful moves often come from the smallest states.